Hello, everyone. This is Irlianna Samsara back again with Star Sound Speaks, Star Sound Astrology. So we're going to talk today about the upcoming solar eclipse on Monday in the sign of Sagittarius. And wow, what a week! You know, as we've been sharing on the previous episodes, we've got the solar eclipse Monday. We have Jupiter and Saturn entering finally, right? Finally entering a new sign, the sign of Aquarius. And then 2 days later, it will be the solstice. So winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, summer solstice in the Southern Hemisphere. And wow, these outrageous changes and shifts in the consciousness is something that we've, of course, especially after this year, right? Can't wait, can't get there fast enough. So I'm going to break that down and kind of, just share a little bit about that. Before I do, if my eyes look watery, it's because I've been crying. Right before I started this recording, I got a text on my email from a wonderful young man, and he was just reconnecting with me. And I'm going to cry all over again. I got my box of Kleenex here. The reason I was so touched and inspired is because this young man is a trans man, and somebody that I met in my community several years ago. And he went to one of my talks and he reconnected. And he was saying, wow, he said, it's been a year since I saw you, but he had gone to one of my workshops on 2020 and how it was going to be such a game-changing year and big paradigm shift, all of that to kind of, I was giving everybody the heads up. I felt like Paul Revere, on his horse, just like, everybody get ready. And he said, wow, that was amazing how, there it was, everything that we were talking about. And anyway, I was just really glad to hear from him. And I'm just anybody who, to me, and so young, in his, I want to say maybe 20 at most. No, a little, maybe 22, 23. Yeah, I mean, early 20s, I mean, what a great soul. Female to male, knew this, acted on it, aligning with his true self. I'm just blown away. And I believe his sister is I think is LGBT also. Anyway, my shout out to the LGBT community and the millennials and Gen X, Y, and Z. I love you guys. You all are amazing. And, we're here to support you. And just knowing that you're on the planet, just the fact that you're leading authentic lives and allowing yourself to walk as your true self is just phenomenal. I'm just going to cry all over again. And I thought I had, by the way, waterproof mascara, but it's not. And I don't know why, but I want my money back. Anyway, so just before I was, all day long, I've been like, getting my notes together and being organized. And I was having a rough day. I was just feeling very challenged because, it is eclipse season, but I'm going to talk to you about this eclipse. But before I do, I just wanted to say, like, give you a taste of like, show me, not talk about the eclipse, but show the eclipse. Well, I had this up and down day, and in the last week has been intense, and there's been a lot of breakdowns, breakthroughs, and that's normal, especially in an eclipse, because, as most of you know, the eclipses are the most important events in astrology. A solar eclipse is a new moon. So, and then we had the lunar eclipse November 30th, and that was the full moon lunar eclipse. Now we have the new moon in Sagittarius. So the sun and the moon are both in Sagittarius, and that starts a new cycle. So a new beginning. But the thing with the solar eclipse is that it is like a new moon on steroids. So those effects last for months and sometimes years. Sometimes it will actually ripple out. It's like a seed that's planted, So I always tell people, my clients and anybody I share this with, always be really careful. Watch carefully and look at what is going on in your world when you, at the time of the eclipse. and look in the world to see, you know, the headlines, and look at your own life, because those themes are going to be coming up for movement, for change and things, especially when Mars hits that point. And I'm going to give you that exact date in just a little bit later, when action comes up to be, you know, to walk through that door. But I just wanted to complete about this young trans man before I move on to that. I just have to say, I'm just so, it really made my day, because I was having a rough day. And, you know, us Leos, man, it's like we don't have rough days, right? It's like very rare that we would declare a rough day, because you got to be positive and, you know, all that. And I hear this siren going down the street. Yes, it's underscoring what I'm saying. Anyway, yeah, so it's just, I just feel very, I feel very honored that he reached out to me, delighted and honored. I just remembered him as just an extremely brilliant soul, and very much, you know, he and his sister have a very bright future. I just always I've always been, you know, I've just been inspired by them and their walk. And I know it's not easy. It's, you know, it can be dangerous, as we know, just being trans, because, you know, there are some people who don't accept that and show that. And in despite of all that, you know, to walk as one's authentic self, despite whatever society may or may not agree with, that's huge. And I just want to say, you know, shout out, like, as I've been sharing, the LGBT community is going to get, the words I'm hearing are legislative breakthroughs. These eclipses have the potential to bring true legislative breakthroughs, because Jupiter, the lord of this eclipse, Sagittarius, you know, ruled by Jupiter, rules the law, and it rules, you know, justice and the legal system and legislators and all of that. So yeah, when an eclipse happens in Jupiter, then it is, you know, we either embracing something or letting go of, and things that are releasing, that in this case, the south node, it's a lunar, it's a south node solar eclipse. So that means that there's something is getting released and freed up. You know, there's a decay of the old way of doing things. There's a degeneration, and that's not necessarily bad. Degeneration and death isn't bad. You know, it means something that has finished and is no longer needed, it falls away. So it has that falling away energy for this eclipse. But anyway, pardon me, I'll have to blow my nose again. Yeah, just to say that I'm just so thrilled to, and a big shout out, because I know that for many in the LGBT community, it is certainly, you know, we just came out, we had 4 years of a presidency that was rolling back trans rights, you know, and LGBT rights. So now that's all shifting and changing, and the astrology is leading the way, you could say. It's being reflected. So the wonderful news about this eclipse, and then this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction line up together, Jupiter and Saturn, those two powerhouses lining up the sign of Aquarius, right? A new era, a progressive era, democracy, visionary thinking, thinking outside the box, living your life outside the box, getting rid of the box, inventing a new box. You know, it's just fresh. And, you know, Jupiter is about, you know, it's optimism and luck and abundance and confidence, and just like the eternal optimist, you know, God consciousness, goddess consciousness, you know, being wise and incorporating all of those wonderful higher wisdom, philosophy, spiritual, higher esoteric wisdom. So we have a chance to really evolve in a super powerful way. So this eclipse is going to lead us into, this is the final eclipse with Jupiter and Saturn in Capricorn. You know, they've been together, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, right? The big, as I called it, the freight train, all being together in the sign of Capricorn this last 2.5 years with Saturn. And well, Pluto's been there, but the last 2.5 years, Jupiter and Saturn, sorry, Pluto and Saturn in the same sign. And then in the last 12 months, Jupiter entered the fray in last December. And when all three came together, that's when exactly when everything happened with, of course, this big breakthrough, of the government and society and the whole paradigm shift. But that's okay. It was necessary for what's coming now, and what's coming is really going to be extraordinary. And so I can't wait. Right, we've all been like working hard, diligently, persevering. We've had to face, many people lost loved ones to COVID, and my heart goes out to all of you who have been have had it and have suffered with it, and some people didn't make it. And there is, of course, that sadness and that grief, and we're allowed to grieve, and just feeling what has happened, and holding in our hearts compassion for one another and for each other, walking through this global experience together. So anyway, holding back the sniffles. I have to also say, today I found out there's a great mystic who is a Sag, and today was his birthday, and his name was Osho. And he's got lots of videos on YouTube. And if you ever feel like you need a quick hit of it, like enlightenment and an enlightened way of being, just, zip it, just pull up one of his videos. It got tons of them. Osho International, OSHO. He was one of the funniest guys. He was this great mystic, a guru, and very, very funny. I mean, just unbelievably deadpan funny. So if you are needing that kind of boost, that would be a great solar eclipse in Sag remedy, is to, go to Osho's channel and, just dip into these deep, incredible waters that are all about the awareness and the understanding of the self, as we are these outrageous sources of light on the planet. And we have the ability to transform in ways that this level of transformation is just has been an accelerated pace in the last 30-40 years, and now we're like really at that pinnacle. So that's my my little RX for today, is to pull up his channel, and if you need some laughs and enlightenment all together. Anyway, so the solar eclipse. So Monday, and it's going to be at, let's see, let me grab that for a second. Okay, I got my stuff. All right, so this is a South Node eclipse. Now we want to look at the sign, because this is giving us clues as to kind of the transformation that's available to us in an eclipse. So this is going to be in, because it's a Sagittarius solar eclipse, it's Sagittarius is a mutable, it's a fire sign. So what do you think of fire? Fire is light, right? The life force, the vital essence, the life and light and fire. And it is mutable fire. So the quality of the fire is mutable, which means it's changeable. So flexibility and change are really what's being called forth here. So since it's a South Node eclipse, that means that the energies it's releasing. It's like to change and let go of something that is no longer necessary in our lives. So, in a solar eclipse, there's no going back. It's a whole chapter ends and a new one begins. And so this is, of course, that can be a little freaky, scary, when things you're just used to are just like are challenged and no longer in our life. But eclipses, as I always, want to remind everybody, it's always breakdown, breakthrough. And so we want to remember that, because whatever is leaving is because something better is available. And it's the universe's way of, moving us forward. Just like, a tree doesn't live forever. It sheds its leaves, and it does that many, many cycles. And then eventually the tree just dies. It's enough. It goes back to the earth and a new one comes up. So in a solar eclipse, we are really looking at some really powerful changes, especially with this particular one. Jupiter is conjunct the galactic center of the Milky Way. The galactic center is 26 degrees of Sag. So this is 23 degrees. So we're only 3 degrees away. So with the galactic center. Well, the galactic center is often considered, I've heard it called the whistleblower point. So we're going to be seeing a lot of, in the collective, there's going to be a lot of disclosure of secrets maybe, or things that have long since been held back or made, as we have been seeing with Pluto and Capricorn, definitely opening the sewer hole on that, right? Of everything, the corruption in government and the people in power. Well, in this particular eclipse with the Saturn, with the South Node, the eclipse conjunct the galactic center, we're going to be seeing, I would say, very good chance of, UFO news or something being opened up, or space exploration, some breakthroughs. As a matter of fact, right before I got on the air, I happened to pull up, there was a headline on CNN that said that the Hubble telescope observed something today. It was a strange, distant exoplanet similar to Planet 9 that may be in our solar system. And Planet 9 is sometimes, I believe that's also called Nibiru. But anyway, it's interesting. This is a massive planet, and it takes like 15,000 Earth years to go one lap around its twin stars. So it's like 336 light years away, which sounds pretty far to me. But anyway, it's very similar to this Planet 9 that scientists believe may exist on the outskirts of our solar system. And so it's 11 times the mass of Jupiter. So there's an example of, wow, watch what happens in the news, because whatever we see now going on in the news, we will get repeats of this information. So, discovering new things in orbit, perhaps, ET activity, contact that maybe really upsets the apple cart in terms of beliefs. Feeling like, if we feel we've got our spirituality and our religion and our beliefs all figured out, it's like, guess what? Judging, there could be a change, and very likely will be. So as a matter of fact, funny, we already mentioned that, right? Because what happened today, another very interesting in the ET news thing, there is the Roswell, New Mexico, their chart was activated for this eclipse, the city or town of Roswell. Well, the Army officer that kind of oversaw that, he had a journal, a secret journal that is going to be, they're going to, I guess, read from it or something, or just disclose what was in it. And it said here that they could offer new clues about Roswell, maybe things we didn't know. So that's a perfect example of, well, they said it was a weather balloon, but, people going, no way, there was definitely something going on there. And so I think it's the History Channel on tomorrow night, December 12th, is going to have this, documentary about this. So that's another example, of here it is, something from outer space, space related, revealing, new news and revealings. So very interesting to look for, because again, we will be seeing more of these topics. Justice too, I would think, for sure. LGBT. Why LGBT? Well, Mercury and Jupiter and Mercury are the lords of the eclipses for the next year and a half. So we have solar and lunar eclipses in Mercury and Jupiter, right? Gemini, Sag. Mercury rules Gemini, Jupiter rules Sag. So Mercury is a very big significator in LGBT, the archetype of LGBT, because Mercury was the one who shape changed, who moved in and out of dimensions. It was very fluid. And he was, the androgyne, the androgynous person, hermaphrodite, all of these qualities are embodied in the Mercury archetype. So we look at that, you know, in charts of LGBT people or the LGBT movement. We see these things. So these are eclipses are huge opportunities for the advancement of consciousness, and for sure with Jupiter, the rights, you know, so social justice. Let's see. So galactic center. Oh, okay. So remember in the lunar eclipse, what did we see? Trickster Mercury. Mercury is fun loving. He just loves to play tricks. So what did we see? That Utah monolith. Remember the big silver thing that showed up in the desert, and then one showed up in, I want to say it was in Romania, and another one showed up in in California at the top of this trail. I think it was near San Luis Obispo. So, and then something disappeared, right? The one in Utah became a pyramid. Somebody dismantled it. It was just so Mercury. You know, the Mercury is like, is also considered like the thief in the night that sneaks in, you know, and steals something away. So it's got that thievery. These guys came in and dismantled it, you know. So I'm like, okay, here's eclipse season, you know, here it is. Very funny, you know, the way, and we don't know who put it there, even to this day. We saw a bunch of guys take it apart. Somebody had their cell phone video, but where did it come from? You know, it's still a mystery. So that was one thing. And now today, it was almost like crop circles, you know, all of a sudden these things popping up. So maybe the metal monolith is like our new crop circle. I don't know. But yes, definitely the beliefs and the belief systems, you know, I would say belief systems being challenged, things, you know, coming up that are just, you know, wow, you know, where'd this come from? So you could imagine, you know, if you were, you know, here's like a good old, you know, somebody's beliefs being challenged. Well, in one case, one thing could be definitely, well, I would think any kind of organized religion, because Jupiter and Sag rules organized religion. So we could be seeing people having a crisis of faith where something happens that's kind of shocking, but it causes them to reevaluate and open their mind to new and different ideas. And the rigidity of saying, you know, like my religion's better than yours, and you know, that kind of thing can get eclipsed, depending on where this is in your chart. If you're a Sag, a Gemini, Pisces, or a Virgo, this eclipse is going to either conjunct, line up with your sun, or oppose it, or square it. If it's Pisces, Virgo, this will be squaring your, the eclipse will be squaring your sun, or whatever planets you happen to have there. So you can pull up a chart. You can get free charts online. Astro.com is a great place to, you know, you just need your birth time, and you put in your, you can find out where this will occur, because depending on what area, it's whatever area in your life, it was where, what I'm trying to say is where the sun is in the chart, where the eclipse happens is the area of your life that is going to get an upgrade. It's as simple as that. So if it's in your first house, you're going to have some revealings, or some perhaps a shift and change in your personal appearance, in your identity, you know, and how you show up in the world. Your second house would be, you know, your talents, your resources, your bank account, your finances, your skills. Third house would be your siblings, cousins, neighbors, your ideas, your writing, your education, you know, elementary education, selling, merchants, you know, retailing, reaching others. Fourth house would be like the home or the mother. Fifth house would be playfulness, kids, sports, having fun, you know, the Leo aspect, right? It's ta-da, you know, that the courageous, brave aspect of our consciousness. Sixth house would be with health and vitality, service, work, daily activity. Seventh house, the breakthrough would be in relationships, especially with long-term marriage, business partner, marriage partner, one-to-one. So that's where the breakthrough would be. The breakdown, breakthrough. The eighth house would be death, right? The falling away, some deep psychological processes, the death of something and the beginning of something else. You know, from death to resurrection, right? Which is phoenix from the ashes. Ninth house would be about truth, foreign travel, right? Hey, how are we going to do that? Oh, Zoom, you know, right now. Yeah, I guess so. But it could be foreigners, you know, it could be occult wisdom, spiritual wisdom, philosophy, higher education, college, things like that. The 10th house, you would have, it would be a breakthrough in one's career, in one's public reputation, how one is seen on the world stage. If it's the 11th house, it would be friends and networks and wishes and dreams and group consciousness, humanitarian endeavors. The 12th house would be places like ashrams, monasteries, being away from the world, solitude, also the mystical element of ourselves, this our bridge with these higher cosmic dimensions. So these are the areas, depending on where it falls in your chart, that is the area of your life that would have the impact. And of course, it's much richer and deeper than that because all of our planets have talked to each other in different ways, but you get the idea. So that's our solar eclipse conversation. And I want to also say that maybe on a personal level, how we might look at this. You know, certainly we're going to be seeing great changes in our education system, in college for sure. You know, I'd like to think that, especially in the beginning of this, remember it is a solar eclipse, but it is also just in our local neighborhood. It's a new moon. So from late, from, you know, mid-December to mid-January, it's going to be in the, you know, the solar eclipse. I'm sorry, the new moon in Sagittarius lasts for a good 28 days. And so this is showing us in the beginning, there's maybe some, in the beginning of this new moon solar eclipse, it's maybe a breakdown, like there's a cathartic moment. We have Mercury, Mars would be squaring Pluto for this eclipse. So that would be like this kind of confrontational energy, or the need to meet something with strength and courage head on. The old established ways of doing business and the old established structures. And Mars representing this drive forward, you know, leading a new way forward. And that doesn't look like the past. To change the old status quo. So, but what I like is that this eclipse is definitely, you know, it might feel like a crisis point in the beginning, but as the month moves on, as we move further into the month and the lunation, I think we'll start to, and especially when Jupiter and Saturn line up for the solstice at 0 Aquarius. I mean, oh my goodness, that's a portal. That's huge. And that's going to be showing us some really profound abilities where we just, society and our consciousness is all just going to shift gears. And it's going to be air. Aquarius is an air sign. So this is about ideas and visionary thinking. For the last 200 years, it's been in, Jupiter and Saturn have met up in earth signs every 20 years. So that's heavy. You know, that's about materialism and colonialism and, you know, conquering energy and competition and, you know, that whole 3D earth plane. But with Jupiter and Saturn Aquarius, man, say hi to those ETs, you know, look for the friendly ones. It's just going to show, everything's going to shift, and we're just going to, it's like the veil comes off and we'll just be able to see things, I feel, more authentically. So let's see. I would say too, some good advice is, you know, with a South Node Jupiter ruled eclipse is like, be willing to be wrong. Be willing to come out of your ivory tower. You know, it's somewhere in each of our lives, we have this kind of, we have these thoughts and ideas and positions on things. And it might be that, you know, maybe you have a feeling of entitlement, or that you feel the need to boss somebody around, or in your relationships with others, or in your outlook on life. And it's like we can put aside those. We can drop that shadow. You know, the shadow side of Sag is like bossiness and that entitlement, and you know, maybe being too scattered. Great to be multitasking, but sometimes it can be too much where you're going in 100 directions. So, and I would say too, your, you know, our deepest spiritual beliefs, like be ready to be challenged, because this paradigm shift is going to challenge us. I would say too, with children, you know, with Mercury rules youth. And so with Mercury in that square with Pluto, we could be seeing a whole nother way to work and engage with children that is truly extraordinary and visionary, and really where we see them and can interact with them as a true authentic selves. Not held back by the strictures of the old order of things, um, where it was just very conservative status quo. This is about embracing everyone's uniqueness. Yeah, yeah, this is going to be really great for that. So yeah, I think that's about all I just wanted to share about that. But anyway, it's great to just see where this falls in your chart. And oh, I know I wanted to look up for you the nodes. Sorry, the dates when Mars will action Mars, right? When this will activate the eclipse. So give me just a second, and I'll grab that. Okay, power dates of opportunity for this eclipse. If this eclipse is falling in in your chart when it's conjunct or lined up with or squaring a planet, you know, so if you have planets at around 20 to 26 degrees of Sagittarius, Gemini, Pisces, or Virgo, then you would definitely feel, it doesn't have to be your sun, it could be the moon, it could be any of the planets in your chart. Or if those degrees are near the angles, the big giant angles of your chart, your ascendant, your descendant, the home base, the IC or the MC, the midheaven, if they're near one of those, like the scaffolding of your chart, that's also a major change. So just know that. But anyway, the power days of opportunity, April of next year, April 11th, 12th, 13th, Mars will be in Gemini in opposing that point. So that's like integrating, you know, action that needs to be taken, that where we're integrating. The opposition is like a seesaw, right? So energy has to be balanced. So that's going to be April 11, 12, 13. And then when Mars conjuncts or lines up exactly at that point, it won't be for another year, a little over a year. It'll be January 14th, 15th of 2022. So those are very big dates to put on your calendar. Especially if this eclipse is, like I said, you know, activating one of the planets in your chart. Now, I will say that sometimes you'll see it a few days before the energy. It might be, you know, April 8th, 9th, 10th. Something could be activated. And again, you know, in January, say the 10th, 11th, 12th, like that. So that whole week would be a time of opportunity. So, and I just want to say too, don't forget to use these as opportunities. Whatever needs, you know, I would say on a personal level, you know, what truth do you need to come home to about yourself? What do you need to disclose to yourself? Because you can't disclose it to others unless you're copacetic with it on the inside. So maybe there's things that will be shown to you that might feel very jarring, and maybe someone will give you a piece of truth that was, you know, just kind of mind-blowing, cathartic experience. You know, so many people were afraid of the truth. You know, you hear people say, oh, you can't say that to him because that would be telling him the truth, you know, as if the truth was like some horrible thing, like, oh, you can't do it. And it's not, you know, it really is true that the truth will set you free. You know, I remember when I lived in Sedona, there was a funny T-shirt I saw in one of the shops, and it was a picture of a, you know, the old-fashioned wringer of when people washed clothes and they'd crank, you know, through the wringer, those little things, and it showed this rag doll going through the wringer, you know, cranking, and it said, "The truth will set you free, but first it will put you through the wringer." So yeah, that the uncomfortableness comes front and center, but as they say in the Kabbalah, the mystical Jewish tradition, it's better to deal with whatever needs to be dealt with up front and experience that discomfort rather than hang on and suppress things, because it's only worse later, you know, when you don't deal with things, as we all know. So I'm encouraging everybody to just, you know, really this is a great opportunity, especially on the eclipse day. You know, just quietly sitting, being in the energy, being in nature. Definitely watch the when the conjunction happens, Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, as you might have been hearing in the news. We're going to be able to see it in the sky. It's going to look like a giant, it's a Christmas star, right? This is these two large bodies, which, you know, they look like stars in the sky, obviously, but because they're going to be so close, it's going to be a pretty bright white dot. So that's exciting, you know, and that's, and my prayer for all of us is that may this light our way. May this Jupiter, oh, I'm going to cry again. May the Jupiter, the opening of one's consciousness, may this lead us to new paths and new truths, and the ability to share those truths with others, but with compassion and grace and open-mindedness, you know, bringing the qualities of Gemini Mercury, you know, to be open and willing to shift and move and change, and to be curious about the world, and to investigate other avenues of consciousness, you know, that maybe were foreign to us, right? So those are kind of, you know, good maxims to go by. You know, where in our life can we come home to ourselves? Where's the truth that needs to be expressed, and to be allowed, that we allow ourselves our truth, and that we allow others. So that's what comes up for me right now. So anyway, I hope that you found this little episode to be of value. And as always, I love hearing from you all. And I so appreciate if you like this video, just hit the like button and share it on YouTube, or share the podcast episode on iTunes, Spotify, and 8 other platforms. So I just hope that if there's anything that I can help you with, you know, just please, we love hearing from you. Email me, Irlianna at starsoundastrology.com. I put it down below right down there in the video and underneath. So yeah, that's all for now. And I will be back very shortly with more on Jupiter-Saturn conjunction and what that might look like, and giving us some really cool empowerment for, you know, what's ahead. So thank you so much for listening. This is Irlianna Samsara, Star Sound Speaks, starsoundastrology.com. If I can help you with a session, give me a holler. We love to be in service, and especially at this time, we've just gone through the hardest year of our life, you know, collectively, and we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna do it together. So yay! Okay, namaste, namaste, peace, peace. Thank you all for listening.